What's going on YouTube? This is the LA Prepper, and today we're going to do a slightly different video. This video is going to be about fraud and scams, and to a lesser extent, how to tell when people you're dealing with are honest or whether or not they're lying scoundrels, like I'm suspecting this company is. I can't say they are a bunch of lying scoundrels. I might get in trouble for defamation. Or slander, to be specific. But I was contacted by this company. I don't know how they got my information, to be honest. But I have my resume and stuff on LinkedIn, so it's not that hard to get a hold of me. And to be honest, I was kind of expecting some amount of spam from having my resume and phone number and such on the internet. But I'm going to go over a few of the interesting things that I have discovered in trying to research this company. Now, if you were just to go to their website, you might say, wow, that's kind of a nice looking website. They have, all the normal stuff. Their website is functioning. It's a fairly nice looking website, to be honest. Bunch of stock photos. Talking about there being a financial service company. Wow, that's a nice little effect. I'd love that on my website. That's cool. The only thing, there's a lot of things that are weird about this company. One thing that's weird is that they call themselves Essex Leasing, but they're advertising themselves as a financial services company. So I don't know why they're called Essex Leasing, but anyways. 1,200 employees across the world, blah, blah, blah. We're hiring, we're exploring new territories. Of course, all this news is kind of, they could just kind of make up this news. Now, they have their partners listed down here, and I'm going to get to that in a second. Denny Winkle, Project Manager, Harman Becker Automotive Systems. Oh, I got to contact this guy, too. Okay, so Harman. Oh, I need a new piece of paper. Denny. I don't even know if Denny Winkle's a real person or not, to be honest. But I'm going to find out. Harman Becker. Well, I'm sure Harman Becker's a real company because all the best scams are sort of partially based in truth. Here we go, Harman International. So I'll go ahead and contact them. But at any rate, so I got contacted by them. They have headquarters in Berlin, apparently. This email here. And they wanted to hire me for like a project manager position, okay? At first I thought they wanted me to do like leasing stuff, but then I thought maybe they want me to be a project manager for their financial services. It's a little bit confusing. So there's a few interesting things about my experience with them thus far. We'll go to our Essex leasing scam investigation. So the first interesting thing is that they claim to have an office in New York at 485 Lexington, but that building has multiple floors. So the first thing that's interesting is that they don't have a suite number or a floor number or anything. And I've worked in a building that had multiple floors, and typically you're going to have a suite number or a floor number or something specific. You don't just put the address of your building. Now, maybe that's not always true, but it's very often the case that you're going to have your suite number or your floor number. So that's kind of interesting. I went ahead and called their number that they have listed, left a voicemail at the property. Now, I've done a bit of research into them, and I'll kind of get into that. In regards to this address, I went ahead and Googled the address, found that there was a floor for lease or some office space for lease, called the realtor. Bless his heart, the realtor called me back in like minutes and was able to provide me the front desk number of the property. So what I did was I called the front desk and said, hey, I'm dealing with this company. I think they're a fraud. Could you let me know if this company is listed at the building. Almost always, unless you're the CIA or something, all companies at the building are going to have a list, like downstairs at the elevator. The person at the front desk is going to have a list of the companies, so that if company XYZ is there and you say, I'm here for company XYZ, the person at the front desk will either check you in or can tell you which elevator or unlock the elevator. Sometimes there's different elevators that only go to certain floors to kind of make it faster. So anyways, that's part one of my investigation. Moving on, I got this call from a Jasmine Hayes, who referred to herself as Desmond Hayes, which might make sense considering her email was, or her name in her email was like Jasmine D. Hayes, so that could make sense. But what gets a little bit more interesting is that she called me from a Massachusetts number, but she's in, the office is in New York. Now, I live in LA and my cell phone number is San Diego, so, it's not the most unheard of thing in the world. Maybe she moved to Massachusetts, got a cell phone in Massachusetts, and then she's working in New York. Another interesting thing about Jasmine Hayes is that she doesn't sound American. Now, this is not a racial thing, but unless she married an American, I'm a little bit suspect that her last name is Hayes. I could tell that English was her second language, although she did speak good English. But she had a very, I wouldn't say Eastern European necessarily, but sort of a European accent. It was a little bit hard to place. I would suspect that she probably learned English at a relatively young age. She's probably bilingual or maybe even trilingual. So that was kind of another interesting thing, is that she has a very English-sounding name, but she doesn't sound like she was born in a primarily English-speaking country, which is also kind of interesting. Like if her name was, Svetlana Hayes, that would have made more sense. But Jasmine Hayes, I don't know about that. And Desmond is not a very European middle name either. It's a very kind of westernized American name. So that's kind of interesting. Moving on to number 3, the contact number on their home page up here, 719-445-2808, does not go to Essex Leasing. Now that is a big red flag. Could it be a typo? Maybe. But what's interesting is, unless this is a new office, they don't claim to have an office in Colorado. They have these European offices, and I tried calling them with Google Hangouts, but I guess I can't call internationally for free. So they claim to have an office in Germany, in Ireland, in the UK, and Belgium, and the Ukraine. This is where it kind of gets interesting. And the Netherlands. Who knows? Maybe Jasmine Hayes is Dutch. Possibly, right? And then New York. So if they have an office in New York, why is their contact information on their page? Why is this going to Colorado? Now, of course, it could be that this number is a international number, but the thing is, international numbers typically may or may not have the same number of, typically you wouldn't put a number to like a German or a London or an Irish company on your website. If you're an international company, you would say, for US, or, you'd have, like if this 719 number was listed like for London, that would make sense. I'd say, okay, this is a number that only works if I'm calling from London to London, or if I have the right international code. But I called this number, and this is for like Home Advisor, and I said, hey, your number's listed on this website, just to let you know. And they were like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So that's the number 3 interesting thing about my experience with this company. And now we get on to the alleged partners. Now, anyone can just put on their website, oh, these are our partners and these are who we work with. And depending on how private these companies are, they may or may not even be interested in telling me whether or not they're working with this company. So what I did was I contacted every single one of these companies: Netsol, White Clark, Timo Consulting Society Generale, and Damon Shipyards. They all are real companies. And I just said, God, what is that noise? Sorry, just give me a moment here. Oh, okay, my neighbor's playing with the hose. I'm hearing funny noises. So I contacted all these companies via email or contact. I had to translate this website. The whole thing was in French. I had to figure out what their email was, and I sent an email in French over to our friends over at Societe Generale and said, hey, I'm dealing with this company. I think they're a fraud. You're listed as a partner on their website, which hopefully should get them interested in what's going on. Can you tell me if you're dealing with this company or if I should contact the authorities, right? Which would kind of be a headache because they're in all these different countries. So I don't know if I would try to contact like the police or the fraud investigation unit in, at least in London would be easy because I wouldn't have to worry about translating it. But if I do end up deciding or discovering that they are a fraudulent company, I probably will try to contact the authorities in Germany, Ireland, the UK, Belgium. I might skip the Ukraine. I don't know if the Ukraine is that worried about it. Or maybe I'll contact them. I don't know. And Amsterdam and New York, and say, hey, this company is doing fraudulent, scammy stuff. Just wanted to let you know they claim to have, an address in their area. Now, this is something else that's really interesting about a lot of this website. Notice I can't click on this. It's very, very unusual that text on a website will be posted as an image. That's very, very unusual. It's not something you're going to see a lot. So let's go ahead and see if we can... Rue Joseph Stevens. It's a weird name for a building. 1000 Bruxelles, Belgium. All right, so let's go ahead and go to Google Maps. Rue Joseph Stephen. Oh, here we go. Rue Joseph Stevens, Brussels, Belgium. And they spelled Brussels wrong, which is kind of weird. I don't know if that's like a Belgium spelling of it. 1000 Bruxelles. Okay, maybe Bruxelles is the street. So it'd be very easy for them to just claim, oh, yes, this is where we are. I don't know which side of the street it's on, to be honest. Let's go ahead and put our little friend Google Street View here. Now, if I saw Essex Leasing on here, what's this say? Joseph Godfroy Skivalot. So what I could do is try to contact some of these. What's this say? Belly. Oh, maybe that means deli or something. Offices to let. Now, if it said Essex Leasing here, I would feel a little bit better about it, but it doesn't say Essex Leasing. Sablon Tower. So I could try to contact some of these addresses and try to figure out which one is 1000. It's a little hard to tell. M. Hermans. Never been to Belgium. But I could put a little more energy. I'm going to wait for a few contacts back and calls back from some of my skip tracing research thus far. But what I could do is try to find a company at 1000 Bruxelles. Nearby, center phone, save. See, and this might not even be addressed. This might just be this location on the street, but it's not exactly clear to me. Let me try Skivalet Sabon. What's their address? See how it says 16 out of 18 or 1618? That's like their suite number or something. This one says 24. So they're giving an address, but they're not giving, let's see, Sabon Tower. Is that? See how it says Roofs of Joseph Stevens number 7? Oh, okay, that is actually the same one. Orega Services Offices. Okay. Office Space Rental Agency. That's really interesting. So I could contact them and say, hey, by the way, have you ever heard of Essex Leasing, and are they in your building? And they would probably be able to answer that question. So that is another interesting thing, is that none of the text on this website you can select. Same with the partners. You go over to partners, and none of this text is selectable. This is all like a picture. The whole thing. It's very, very strange. In fact, if I look at the source code real quick, so this is what how the website's designed. Man, that's a lot of garbage, gobbledygook. It's always interesting to look at a company's or website's source code. Of course, I'm not a web designer, so I won't necessarily be able to. Element widget. Well, it's interesting. They have it typed here, but for some reason you can't click on it. So I don't know how they... Oh, my mouse is dying. Okay, so if we... So it's really weird that they have the... It's like they don't want it to be searched. So they actually do have it typed in, but for whatever reason, they've somehow... Images, partner, images. Okay, well, that makes some amount of sense. So it is interesting that they're labeling these images in English. Like if this said a word for partner in Russian or something, that would be kind of interesting, right? So anyways, so you can't select any of the text on the website. So that's kind of my current investigation thus far. I've been getting calls from people who seem very international but claim to be in America. Numbers on the websites are weird. Even the job description itself, let me see if I can go to that email. It's in my personal email, so let me get a little privacy here real quick before I pull that up. They're claiming they want to pay me for a month of training too, which is a little concerning to me. Like they're going to want my bank account or something for direct deposit. But it's just all a little suspicious. Yeah. Nothing really in the email, I suppose, that makes it stand out too much as being suspicious. Now, Is it possible that they're actually a legitimate company? I guess it's possible. I've tried to Google them and research them. I really haven't. The problem is there's like Essex Property Trust is a different company. So every time I try to Google Essex Leasing, I come up with this Essex Property Trust stuff. And if they are a scam company, they certainly put... Oh, you know, I should call Deutsche Bank about this too. Because apparently they were founded by Deutsche Bank, or Deutsche Bank is the sole shareholder. Top 20 leasing companies in Europe, according to the European Federation of Leasing Company Association. But again, I can't click on this. Lease Europe. Let's go ahead and see if we can Google Lease Europe. And while we're doing that, top 20 leasing companies. Lease Europe. Wow, this website's taking forever. Top 20 companies lease Europe. If a third-party company, top European leasing companies 2013. Okay. But why would 2013 be the most recent result? I guess if it was optimized the best. Unless this entire website is a fraud in and of itself, that would be a pretty impressive fraud. What's up with this freaking PDF? Come on, guys. It's only 4 pages. Okay. Let's see. No match, Essex. Okay. So they're not on this list. Société Générale, yeah, they're there. Interesting. I'm going to have to add Lease Europe to my research in this. Cool, there's an email here. So what I'll do is I'll email this person and say, hey, I'm dealing with this company. It seems like they're a fraud. They said you're on a top 20 list with you guys. Is that true? And could you send me a copy of that list? So anyways, I just thought I'd share this with you, YouTube. Kind of an interesting experience. You never know when you're dealing with people online. Anyone can get a phone number that shows that they're in any state or any country. So that's not really, it's not that hard. And as we've seen, it's certainly not hard to put together a website and kind of pretend that you're a company. And it takes a little bit of research to kind of figure out whether or not they are legitimate or not. But they've left me enough clues that I think I could tell whether or not they're legitimate or not. So anyways, just thought I'd share that kind of interesting experience with you. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe. Watch out for fraud and scams, and keep prepping.